Joe Biden says that he would not legalize cannabis because it is a supposed gateway drug. So this is a very good opportunity to dispel what is a very tired and misunderstood talking point. And it's another confirmation, not that we needed one, that Joe Biden's not progressive, period. Joe Biden still has some of the tired, centrist ideas of many decades past. So let's take a look at the video from Joe Biden's rally in Las Vegas, Nevada over the weekend. And then, there's just so much to say about this.
Hello, my name is Ricky. I have two questions, Joe. My first question is, has your stance on recreational marijuana changed? And my second question is, do you mind signing a poster for me and my mom?
I'll be happy to sign a poster when this is over. And no, it hasn't changed. I think states should be able to make a judgment to legalize marijuana. I agree with, I think that's okay. But let me tell you, the truth of the matter is there's not nearly been enough evidence that has been acquired as to whether or not it is a gateway drug. It's a debate, and I want a lot more, before I legalize it nationally, I want to make sure we know a lot more about the science behind it.
It is really important to break this down into pieces and go through it, as I like to do, step by step, because there's a lot of wrong information here, but we also don't want to go further than the science tells us. We just want to be clear about what does the science say and how do these things work. The concept of a gateway drug, the concept described by the idea of a gateway drug is a real thing, okay? The idea is you have a drug, it's either in and of itself not addictive or less addictive, but it leads to the use of more addicting or debilitating drugs that one may not as readily get into directly were it not through the gateway or the door that is opened by some other substance or drug. So I'll give you an example. Prescription opiate painkillers have been proven to function as a potentially dangerous gateway to street heroin. That's true. That's a huge problem. You get a prescription after some medical procedure or an accident from a doctor. You become addicted. You start buying the same pills on the street. You realize heroin is cheaper, so you switch to the heroin. The prescription opiates, for so many people, devastatingly, have been a gateway to street heroin. That's a real problem. Cannabis has not been shown to be a gateway drug, and there's actually a ton of science about it. You can go to Google Scholar and you can read lots of studies about it. And the general findings, after I reviewed several dozen studies about this, are that there actually is a correlation between very heavy cannabis use and the use of harder drugs. But the problem is that that's deceptive, and that's as far as many people go. There are many people who will say, well, look, studies have shown that really heavy cannabis users are more likely to also be users or abusers of heavier drugs. There must be some causal relationship. This is a very different issue altogether, and we shouldn't conflate what's going on. A heavy cannabis user could be more likely to get into harder drugs regardless of their cannabis use and regardless of the legality of cannabis. What I mean by that is, if you are the type of person who either for biological reasons or circumstantial family environmental reasons are more likely to end up using heroin or cocaine and crystal meth or whatever, you are also more likely to do that regardless of whether cannabis is legal. I hope I'm being clear in what I'm saying here. Now, there is one way in which marijuana or cannabis can be a gateway drug, and it's actually something that suggests we should be legalizing it. Being around drug-related violence, being around drug-related guns and criminality and drug dealing that is happening in an illicit way is going to put you in situations where there are likely going to be users of heavier drugs around you. You could get sucked into it or into violence or criminality simply by being around the scene. But that's actually an argument for the legalization of cannabis to get people who choose to use it away from situations and circumstances where there are heavier drugs or there are guns or there is violence. That is the way in which cannabis being illegal can serve as a gateway, not just to using hard drugs, but also to getting people into situations of criminality and violence that are generated by cannabis being illegal. So back to Joe Biden. It's no surprise that this is what he's saying. He's being upfront, and I disagree with his position. So the one thing, I'm not a Biden guy, but this is yet more evidence that Biden's not progressive. The one thing I appreciate that Joe Biden is doing this election cycle, and I've said this before, and some people get mad for me pointing this out, but it's true. Joe Biden doesn't seem to be pretending to be a progressive. In other words, he makes very clear on the stage, he's not into this Medicare for all thing that other people are talking about. He makes it very clear when he's asked, I think cannabis is a gateway drug and I wouldn't legalize it. I disagree vehemently, or as I like to say vehemently, even though I don't even know where I heard it, I just find it funny. I disagree vehemently with Joe Biden on these positions, but he's not playing coy the way some other candidates have been doing. And it makes it really clear that Biden's not the guy for me. I don't have to dig too deep to figure that out. So he's not the person I want as the progressive, as the Democratic nominee, rather. He's not the person I want as president, but he's being upfront with us. He's completely wrong, but he is being upfront with us here.